Good afternoon, Scott Baker.
Mikey, how are you? It is Saturday, October 25th, 2025. Time for another edition of Lead Better, our chance to discuss the field note from Admired Leadership. Today is field note number 1598, just two away from 1600. The title is Seeking Sweet and Sour Feedback. And yeah, it's kind of a play on the menu item. But it actually, honestly, to be honest, it didn't make me want, I actually just started craving orange chicken. Which is not exactly the same thing, but you know.
It certainly is. Do you know some of the history behind sweet and sour sauce?
I know more about. I actually think I know more about the history of orange chicken than I do about sweet and sour sauce. But fill me in.
Well, orange chicken dates back to the 1970s. Sweet and sour sauce goes all the
way back,
to the 7th dynasty, the Tang dynasty, I think it is back, and in China as well. So, whereas orange chicken does not go back to China. It just
goes back to the Panda
Hawaii.
Express's founder's grandfather, I think, in Hawaii.
Yeah. But the reason that sweet and sour sauce was created is because the most important thing about the food was that it would be preserved. So there was vinegar that it was based in for the preservative. So you needed some kind of honey or something to balance out the vinegar. So we think of it as like, in this metaphor here for the feedback, that it is sweet and sour, the positive and the negative, right?
Right.
But we need to understand that if we're really going to go deep on the metaphor, vinegar
the sour is the good part.
Vinegar is the preservative part, right? So don't think of it necessarily as I'm going to criticize you. These are the long-term preservatives that I'm putting into you, right?
I like it. I like it. Boy, I am getting hungry. So let's move past this real quickly before I check the Uber Eats delivery schedule. The interesting thing is sometimes when we see the word feedback in the headline, you sort of lock onto that and you start to think, this is all about leadership. And so a field note for leaders is about sweet and sour and how you give the good and the bad feedback to people. But it's the reverse. You might quickly read past the seeking, because this is not about how a leader is giving feedback to people. It's about the kind of feedback they're seeking from people on the team. And particularly in this case, perhaps people that are new leaders or new in a role, maybe new to the organization. And that's a pivotal time.
Yeah. And people don't know how to give feedback to a stranger.
Who's asking? Right, exactly right. Yeah.
Like a stranger who you know is going to be part of your life for at least the next quarter or two, right?
That's all. And there's a new CEO. Well, we got you for at least 5 months,
Right. And so they have no idea whether or not, should I allow this to be a time where I'm just going to wait this person out? They're asking me a very specific question. I don't know motive or intention behind this question. And so there's a lot of incentive for people not to be frank, not to be transparent with a person in this situation. And so it's not a trivial issue that it's being called sweet and sour feedback. It's a real thing that leaders don't know how to get accurate feedback at times. And here is a time where it's probably one of the most prevalent times where how in the world you're meeting new people for the first time. You have no idea the politics or the history of the place. How do you ensure that you get an accurate view of what's going on in the place?
Right. Well, and that period of time is often called, the listening tour. And so the person that is coming into that environment and getting that sort of a range of input, the field note then points to the specific idea of it's. You're asking for the good things about the place and the bad things about the place. So whether you're looking at the exact phraseology that's used, what is the best of this place? What is the worst of this place? Don't get hung up on whether you have to say best or worst or what's really working here very well. What would you like to see work better? Those are other ways to phrase it. But that rhythm is what you're looking for. Now, we obviously, in the giving of feedback, don't believe in the sandwich technique. Like, you're doing really great. Here's this terrible thing that has your job in jeopardy, but we kind of believe in you because you're a nice guy. That doesn't work in regular feedback you're giving. And it's not what you're like, all right, everybody, tell me a good thing so I feel good about myself. Then you can tell me what you really think, but make sure that you praise me at the end. We're not trying to get people into that rhythm. We actually are. And if you are this leader, you should be looking for things that are working about the place that you don't know, because you probably don't know.
Right.
So if you're doing both sides of this, it's not just using the sweet part as a bait to get the sour part. You actually need to hear both.
Right. Okay. So if people are still hesitant, what do you think the phraseology should be? You've set it up properly. You've asked for sweet and sour, feedback. Maybe you're not going to be cute with the metaphor, but you are framing it in such a way that you're asking for both positives and negatives. And then you get the sense that people,
they're holding back.
They're holding back, and they're like, oh, there's just nothing negative I can think of, right? But there's likely stuff there, and you want to be able to hear it. What's the next way that you draw that out of people?
Well, I mean, my way would be, I'm guessing you'd probably be on the same wavelength, which would be start getting just specific. It's like, well, look, I'm not talking about like, where are the hidden atomic bombs? There's got to be some day-to-day frustrations, right? What is something that if we changed it could make your day 5% faster? Like 5% more efficient. You'll start to get people say, well, there is this. That also would be helpful. But honestly, I think even if they're even if they're a little bit leery because you're the new boss or whatever, I think most people have a pretty good list of what's not working in the organization. Right. Do you think they'd be that hesitant to share?
I think it depends on the leader that they were coming from, right? They might be in a little bit of PTSD or shell shock from their previous leader who had a certain style. If you have the same style but you're operating completely differently, right? Then you might be putting off some trigger warnings to them in such a way that they would completely shut down. Like, who knows why people would shut down or why they wouldn't, but you still want to be able to hear from them.
Well, let's think about it this way. One, we do know that in many organizations, there are people who have built their careers and successful ones because they're very good at risk analysis and they're very good at pointing out problems and they're very good about saying to people, this is going to be a disaster. Now, you're not asking everybody on the team that you're asking this question, what's good and bad, but what you are saying is everybody does want to look like they have high utility to the new person.
Yes.
So if the new person is saying, here's what I actually need, like I'm pretty clear. It seems like these seem to be the priorities of what we need to get done. Yes, great. But I right now don't know where the roadblocks are, the speed bumps are. And so the thing I need the most, that's most helpful to me is where I can see, I'm trying to come up with a top 100 list. That we can kind of then see if there's a commonality. And so the way you can be most helpful to me is help me really analyze those things. Now, I'm creating there, there's some, I think they've talked about it in the literature as a the psychology of disclosure. How do I make it feel like this is safe and normative in our organization? And I do think that goes back to, Alan Mulally at Ford when he came over from Boeing and was saying, look, I need on Fridays everybody to get together and you're going to tell me, where are you? Are you a green light, a yellow light, or a red light on your key priorities? And for a while, nobody was ready to say they had a red light. That nobody wanted to admit that there was a problem until somebody did, and Alan Mulally rewarded that and doubled down on that and gave resources and focused and then pretty soon people are like, oh, the more that I show where the struggles are, that's where the energy goes, right?
Right.
Now, you can decide whether you want to put the energy into things that are going really right and amplifying those things, but sometimes you got big problems to solve. So I think the more that you can create a normative process where that's being built out, that's not going to happen in one conversation, but you can get people on board, I think, in this process through that idea.
Right. And the main thing you're wanting to do, especially in this early stage, is set the tone for candid speech.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That you really, so almost no matter what they say, even if it does surprise you, you just need to accept it and go on. I heard one of our partners, John Cook, in an earlier conversation with Wes, say that in the same way. Like if you're seeking feedback from your kids and, and you ask them for it for the first time, and maybe they're not going to be specific, but you're going to ask them for like a 1 to 10 rating. How good of a dad am I being in the last week? And they say, you're a 6, right? Now there's your opportunity to be like, a 6? What are you kidding me? And then you're going to litigate the 6. You can't, no matter what it is. You just need to like accept it. Like the one thing that you might be able to say in that situation is, tell me the one thing I can do from being going from a 6 to a 7, right?
Yes, right.
Like, don't even make it unrealistic, right?
Mikey.
Yeah.
Do you know what you just did? What did you just do?
I think I just repeated what John Cook said 2 weeks ago.
No. Everybody listening, watching, maybe Mikey doesn't know. I can't believe he wouldn't know. But you just said 6, 7.
Oh no. I did not cue it up. Like I only notice when stuff like that comes out of my mouth if it's at the end of a sentence. But
now, some people listening right now or watching right now are like, these guys have lost their minds.
Yes.
We're actually helping you. If you don't know about the nature of the 6, 7 meme, somebody in your life does.
It's awful.
And yes. So you need to at least search it a little bit. It's a global phenomenon right now. I think the Wall Street Journal did an article on it the other day. And so you should, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to explain it. But I mean, even if you have like a middle schooler around you and they come by and you just go 6, 7, they'll lose it. Yeah, and you won't even know why. So okay, so we didn't mean to do that, but you said it. They won't even know why. Yeah, they won't even know why.
I did say
so. Okay,
it's going to derail every conversation for the next month.
Can we get back to the actual point here? So yes, so here we are, and that idea of saying, how do I get from a 6 to a 7? That's useful, right? And I do think that that's a great thing that metaphors like this, sweet and sour, are helpful because they are little hooks that we can hang behaviors on. Because sometimes we'll have a behavior and it might have a snappy title. There might be a good title to a particular field note. And you're like, will I remember? And really over 1,600 field notes, part of the goal is just let it marinate, as one of them said the other day. Some of this stuff will just come back to you. But it's the whole point of why we do this daily conversation, which is, here's an idea. These aren't just throwaways. They even just the free field note that can put that out every day. And we'll have these in book form, soon, and not just as a compendium, but thematically. And the ability to take these ideas, even match them with things you would get from our Alex, our AI for leaders, things that you might use if you're one of our coaching clients or you use our sort of behavior playbook, you can start to get exceptionally good. And what's interesting is there was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. There was one in the Harvard Business Review the other day about how leaders can use AI to get better faster. And then there was the one in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about how everything, our ability to learn as organizations and test things out is now 100x faster, if that, maybe more, because you just have this ability. Same thing here. You can use these things to say, how can I get back? Can the leader who might have taken a year to really understand the place, can they get wired into the place in an actionable way in 3 weeks? Right. Well, if you start to say to people these kinds of questions, you show you're open to the questions, you get people used to the idea of questions like this, you might start to see real acceleration, which is exciting.
Right. Now, if you still have people who resist giving you negative feedback about themselves or anybody else or about the organization, I think my go-to tactic then is to be like, okay, hypothetically, you have to give me one negative thing, right? It could be small, it could be whatever, but it's one thing. What's the one thing that you could say could be improved upon? Like everyone's going to be able to at least respond to that. But in that is possibly a real clue to something much bigger, right?
Yes.
Especially if a person who you've asked them 3 or 4 different ways and you had to coax it out of them, the thing that they finally say might actually be the the mountain you should make out of the molehill.
Yes. Right. Yeah. The, I mean, honestly, Mikey, if you were in charge of anything and you said to somebody, they're like, nope, got no problems.
Yeah.
Would you be like, I'm kind of concerned about you.
Yes.
Like, I'm worried about for how you walk around in the world.
Right. Right. If you don't see any issues and there's no problems, nothing to improve, then it'd be, I'm not sure you should be on my team.
Right. Yeah. Well, I always thought that was the case. Even now, if we're interviewing people, and there was a time where I was having to interview a lot of people for jobs, and I would usually at some place, point to the, and I was pretty good at doing job interviews myself when being interviewed for a job. Because I usually started the questions myself before they got anywhere. Most people kind of go, all right, what do you want to ask me? I just started the questions usually when we were in the lobby of the organization, like before we got back to the office. And then I'll just keep asking questions as long as I possibly can before they go like, well, we have some questions for you. Okay, great. Because I can actually demonstrate everything that I want to say in the questions that I'm asking. But the tell to me was always if I was interviewing somebody and I said, all right, any questions for me? It's amazing how many people go, no, I think I'm good. You're like, I just asked you questions for an hour. You've got no questions for me. I automatically put you at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah. So, in terms of like even a boss you want to work for. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So here we go. Same thing. If you don't have anything sour, I've got no sweet for you.
Right. No, a good handle and it's an important thing. All right. Great. Fantastic. Thanks.
All right. Talk to you tomorrow.
For a Saturday. It's a good one. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I like it.